Well, thank you very much, and I think really there isn't much that anyone can add on the kind of precise and concise statement that has been read by the Lord Mayor, possibly simply to emphasize to our citizens the fact that for the last more than 52 years of the independent life of Uganda, we have not had a single credible election in 52 plus years. And that part of the scars that our country still manifests today is a result of rigged elections. Mr. Museveni came to power walking on corpses that were created by rigged elections. 500,000 of them, corpses, which are lying in the fields of Ruwero on account of rigged elections. Now, when Mr. Museveni went to the bush, he did not even have the humility to first challenge the election in courts to test the type of election in courts. He said this is a rigged election, and I entirely agreed with him. Even though it was not tested in court, I entirely agree that it was a rigged election. And it mandated a war that cost more than 500,000 people of this country. The scars are still piled as monuments, scars of rigged election. So we are not talking about a simple matter. And this is why every Ugandan must focus on this. Our livelihood depends on rigged on elections, because that's our voice. That's the voice of citizens. If you look around our region today, surely you will know the magnitude of the matter that we are discussing. I'm sure some of you are seeing the pictures on your TVs about what is happening in Burundi, in Bujumbura, just as we talk. I'm sure you are seeing what is happening. I'm sure all of you were around when thousands of people were killed in our neighborhood in Kenya. I'm sure you were around. I'm sure you know what is happening in our neighborhood in Sudan. Same problem. So, we cannot overemphasize the critical importance of having credible elections. It's a matter of life and death. And don't deceive yourselves. The challenges we all face, whether in the media, whether in the citizenry generally, are challenges that arise from lack of citizens' voice. If you cannot call a government to order, you cannot check its corruption. So everybody is crying about corruption. Everybody knows who steals the money, don't we? Every citizen knows who has taken the billions. We all know. We simply have no voice to check them. And so they continue unabated. It is those years of controlling and abusing our resources that is responsible for the, for the humiliating poverty that all Ugandans now endure. Humiliating poverty. whether you are land, whether you are not educated, everyone is enduring humiliating poverty. Professors, judges, most of these judges would not be that corrupt. But if a judge is earning 2 million, the cost of one term's school fees of one of their children, how will that judge not be tempted to steal? I mean, to be corrupt? So the corruption, the poverty, the unemployment of our youth is all traceable to what we are talking about. Now, what is this election we are going to? Everybody has been saying, and even all the surveys, I don't believe in opinion polls conducted in situations of dictatorships. Political polls. You can have economic polls, you can have all kinds of polls, but political polls conducted in an environment of terror cannot give you anything accurate. And that's why I don't believe in all these polls that NRM parades for that, precisely that purpose, seeking legitimacy. But even in those fake polls, all of them have said that Ugandans, I think more than 70% of Ugandans would want to have a new electoral commission. All of them. All those fake polls the NRM is parading by whoever, all of them say Ugandans have no faith in the Electoral Commission. The Lord Mayor has talked about the court judgments that have indicted the Electoral Commission over and over again. This particular Electoral Commission should never have been reappointed because they no longer lived up to the qualifications of being electoral commissioners. Electoral commissioners have a standard provided by the Constitution. By the time they were reappointed, they had completely crossed the line of those standards. They should never have been reappointed. We filed a constitutional petition challenging their reappointment because they were not qualified to be reappointed. That petition has never been heard by the same judicial crisis that we live in. You know, there are many petitions in the courts that have not been heard, including that one, challenging the reappointment of this very electoral commission. So we have a fake electoral commission. Now it is that commission that is already organizing the election. The election is already underway. It is compiling a register, fraudulent register already. Last night, I understand, I did not personally see, but I heard that the chairman of the Electoral Commission issued a statement saying that he has degazetted the previous register. How do you degazette a register, which is a Ugandan register? So if he has degazetted it, how has he compiled another one? Because he seeks to use the National ID Register, whose law in section, I think it is 65 of the Citizens of the Registration of Persons Act 2015, he seeks to use section 55, which says that the Electoral Commission may use the National ID Register to compile, update, and do whatever with the voters' register. But that is not an authority for him to degazette our register. People who were registered as voters since 1996 have been voting, have been candidates. For the moment may not be living in Uganda, will not be voters unless they register as citizens under the ID. Now, registration as citizens does not mean that you are automatically a voter. You must apply to be a voter under the law. So how have these people applied to be voters under the law? There is a specific procedure for application to be a voter, which those who were on the register had complied with. So we have a fake Electoral Commission that at every stage proceeds in a fake way, abusing the law, just acting at the behest of their masters or their master, Mr. Museveni, who has power over them. Up to now, Mr. Museveni can sack Chigundu whenever he wishes without any reference to anybody. So Mr. Chigundu is a servant of Mr. Museveni, who himself has already declared himself a solo candidate. How can you have an Electoral Commission appointed by the solo candidate, controlled by the solo candidate, purporting to organize a national election? How can that be allowed? Ladies and gentlemen, our call to Ugandans is simply to say no more sham elections. Enough is enough. We must put a full stop to this. This is why we are not appealing to government anymore. We are not appealing to Parliament anymore. They have demonstrated beyond any form of doubt that they have no interest in the public good, that they are just protecting their privilege to plunder our country. So our appeal, our campaign can only be an appeal and a campaign of citizens who have the ultimate power under our Constitution. Citizens must now take their responsibility straight and without flinching. And in those I include the media. I think the media, you have a very critical role. Also not to be used to service the junta's will. Because clearly there has been elements within the media that I believe are deliberately distorting the message of reform. Just the other day, I met some journalists who came to my home that they had heard I was going to have a press conference with Sejusa at my home. I don't know how they got that information, but nonetheless, I told them, I was surprised to see them. They went ahead to ask me questions. I am, horrified to see what was printed in the booklet. The booklet says, "Eyalise nkagale wa FDC kano Kizza Besigye agambye nti agenda kuwagira omuntu yenna anaavaayo n'enteekateeka ennambulukufu okukulembera eggwanga mu kulonda okujja." This means that I told him that I am ready and prepared to support anybody who comes up with a good program in the next elections. Besigye yasangiddwa mu maka ge Kasangati yagambye nti buli munnabyabufuzi ali ku ludda oluvuganya gavumenti ayina ekiruubirirwa ekyokutereeza eggwanga ajja kumuwagira nga ye tekimwetaagisa kwesimbawo ku bwa president eggwanga ku bwa president eggwanga okutereera. Ngenda kuwagira n'avaayo n'alaga nti ayina enteekateeka ennungamu okutereeza eggwanga ne bw'aba si muna FDC kabeere owa NRM. This is the book and the reporter that I sat with, you know. Ono ye Joseph Makumbi eyawandiise bino. Nakumuwagira kuba talina okwekwatiramu tutereeze eggwanga lyaffe, Besigye bwe yagambye. Bino yabyogedde ayanukula ebibuuzo ku nteekateeka z'alina ku kulonda okwa 2016 n'enkolagana ye ne General Sejjusa ne yali Katiikiro wa Uganda Patrick Amama Mbabazi. Besigye yagambye, Besigye agamba nti ye tasobola kwesimbawo ng'akakiiko k'ebyokulonda tekaneetereza. Akakiiko k'ebyokulonda ke kagenda okwetereza nga tekaneetereza. Era yagambye nti musanyufu olw'enkalala z'abalonzi ezitimbiddwa. Can you imagine? You know? Is Bwana Makumbi around? Honestly, because he had the tape. I was talking as he was recording. Jaye eddoboozi lyange olage bannayuganda oba nayogedde ebintu bino. So kyengamba kiki nti ffenna tulina obuvunaanyizibwa mu kaseera kano, including the media. In fact, the media has been the biggest victim of one of the biggest victims of the dictatorship. Until some surrendered, like Andrew Mwenda, who were taken hostage. It's a result of what has been happening in the media. So I hope that everybody really holds each other's hands and we save the country. It's not about who becomes a leader. This is about the basis on which the country is formed, that citizens have a voice, that citizens have power over their country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kizza Besigye. I think you've got enough from this side.